So for today we have task number 4, Netcat, which is part of the module What the Shell, which is a prerequisite of the module Upload Vulnerabilities inside the complete beginner path on TryHackMe. As mentioned previously, Netcat is the most basic tool in a pen test toolkit when it comes to any kind of networking. With it, we can do a wide variety of interesting things, but let's focus for now on shells. Reverse shells. In the previous task, we saw that reverse shells require shell code and a listener. There are many ways to execute a shell, so we'll start by looking at listeners. The syntax for starting a Netcat listener using Linux is this: nc-lvnp. It's written like this because just to shorten up the command, right? Not to use -l, -v, -n, -p. These are activated only by using one hyphen and then enumerate each word one after another. And after that, we need to add a port. Here is the full command: sudo nc-lvnp 443. L is for used to tell Netcat that this will be a listener. V requests a verbose output. N tells Netcat not to resolve host names or use DNS. Explaining this is out with the scope of the room. And P indicates that the port specification will follow. The example in the previous task used port 443. Realistically, you could use any port you like as long as there isn't already a service using it. Be aware that if you choose to use a port below 1024, you will need to use sudo when starting your listener. That said, it's often a good idea to use a well-known port number, 80, 443 or 53 being good choices, as this is more likely to get past outbound firewall rules on the target. A working example of this would be the command that we saw, sudo nc-lvnp 443. We can then connect back to this with any number of payloads, depending on the environment on the target. An example of this is displayed in the previous task, right? And we saw here the example of the reverse shell and the bind shell. For that, just go to the previous video. Bind shells. If we are looking to obtain a bind shell on a target, then we can assume that there is already a listener waiting for us on the chosen port of the target. All we need to do is to connect to it. The syntax for this is relatively straightforward. We have nc, target IP, and then the chosen port. Here we are using Netcat to make an outbound connection to the target on our chosen port. We will looking at using Netcat to create a listener for this type of shell in task number 8. What's important here is that you understand how to connect to a listening port using Netcat. Answer the questions below. Which option tells Netcat to listen? We go over here, is used -L is used to tell Netcat that this will be a listener. -L. How would you connect to a bind shell on the IP 10.10.10.10.10.10.10.10.11 on port 8080? We go for the command nc, and then we go for 10.10.10.10.11 port 8080. Boom.